is that time of the month, my friends, where Marvel decides to release another Disney Plus show based on one of their popular characters. This time around focusing on the supporting character Maya Lopez, who we met in Hawkeye. Codename Echo, her show kind of breaks the rules for a lot of past Disney Plus shows. For one, this is the first Marvel Spotlight show, and Kevin Feige describes this label as a show that doesn't necessarily connect to the larger MCU, but tells a character-driven story. Not just that, but this is also one of the first times Disney Plus drops the entire 5 episodes on one day, no more week to week. You can literally binge the entire thing in a matter of like 2.5 hours. And the cherry on top, it is also the first TVMA Disney Plus show showing full-on blood, curse words, getting real down and dirty, something your mama might not appreciate, but you know we do. Thank you, Fagoli. I've now watched the entire show and I got a lot of thoughts. I'm going to be keeping it spoiler-free for the majority of this show just to give you an idea of what I thought worked and didn't work in the show, and then towards the end, I'm going to get into spoilers, the finale, and the post-credit scene, because there is one by the end of the show. But I really want to hear from you guys on where you think this big major step for Marvel in terms of rated R content, more mature content, dropping a show all at once. Is this something they should do more often? Did you enjoy Echo at all? Curious to hear what you guys think. But okay, diving into it here, you guys know on the channel, I'm still very much an MCU enjoyer. While I'm fully aware of the dip in quality that the MCU has been through the past couple of years, it has not been nearly as bad to where I'm jumping off the ship. There's still projects I'm excited for in the future, and even when they release a kind of mid or just okay movie, there are enough redeeming qualities in there where I don't think they've completely fallen off, but I still totally understand a lot of the complaints that have been happening with the MCU. And one of the biggest complaints I have had is these Disney Plus shows, because I'm about to be fully on the dark side with those. If Kevin Feige came out tomorrow and said, yeah, we're not doing any more of these, we're sticking to the movies, I'd be jumping up and down kind of cheery. It was a fun experiment, and I get why you had to do it in the age of streaming, but the content has just gotten so overbloated, it's no longer that fun to keep up with. It feels a lot more like homework, and now that we're getting to the point where really lesser known side characters that show up in a random Disney Plus show are getting their own show, it feels like we're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So that's really my mindset going into Echo, and even more into it, she was a character I could care less about from Hawkeye. And I actually quite enjoyed Hawkeye. I thought that was one of the funner Disney Plus shows, had its flaws here and there, but I thought it was fun. But the whole Maya sub-story and what they did with Kingpin in there in that finale where she like shoots him in the face, I was like, why are we just handing out Disney Plus shows? Nothing of what you presented from Maya and Hawkeye to me said, yeah, she's definitely show material. But I'm happy to say with episode 1, completely changed my mind around, and that's a major positive with the show. Episode 1 of Echo is very much treated like a recap of the Maya character and everything she went through in Hawkeye. So if you're someone that's like, oh, I didn't check out Hawkeye and I don't know if I want to sit through that to then sit through Echo, which has become the pattern with Marvel, you have to watch this to watch that to then be able to watch this. You know, that's just the way things go now. Episode 1 will completely recap the most important moments of Hawkeye involving Maya, fill in the gaps, very important gaps that are context to her character that made me enjoy her a lot more. It only took that first episode where I was like, oh, okay, I actually kind of like Maya then. That's a tragic backstory. That's some interesting trauma right there. I totally get now the hatred she had for Kingpin, even some of her abilities and fight scenes, really cool. Okay. Continue on, you're cooking. And throughout the course of the show, there was a lot of redeeming qualities that made it stand above the average Marvel Disney Plus show. Like for one, the action scenes, phenomenal. If you saw the trailer, you were gonna get a bunch of that awesome, sweet Netflix Daredevil type show action. It's hand-to-hand combat that isn't just shot with shaky cam, it's well choreographed, it's long no-cut scenes, and boy is it beautiful. They even do some artistic things with Maya being a deaf character where you're not just watching her fight, but you're feeling her POV. It goes into complete silence. The way she examines a room, not being able to hear anything, and even the way she signs to the enemy she's fighting, all of that I thought was handled really well. In the trailer, they did give away that Daredevil is someone showing up in the show, and while I'll caution you, don't be expecting a lot of Daredevil in here, the one scene you do get of Daredevil with Maya, sweet, beautiful fight. You can definitely see the Disney Plus budget and them utilizing more of Daredevil's acrobatic abilities, using more of his weapons. That was kind of a rarity in the Netflix show. Like, really awesome stuff. The bloodier tone in here also made it feel refreshing. I mean, we were dealing with a lot of PG, regular MCU violence, which is fun and good, but once in a while, you just want to see blood spewing out of people's mouths, brains getting shot out, and they do that. There's some cursing here and there, and overall, it just adds for a new flavor. Once you've been given the same thing to eat over and over, it's nice to get something a little different. Praising some of the supporting cast members that get in here, while Alako Cox obviously does a fantastic job, I was actually surprised to find out she actually is deaf and an actual amputee. It only made me respect her more for some of the stunts she was pulling on the show, but for her supporting characters, there was also some really good ones. There's a character by the name of Biscuit who was really funny. You have one named Henry that I also thought was a good addition. Graham Greene, who plays like the grandpa named Scully. They have their moments throughout the show, and I didn't mind seeing them pop up. But here's where I started to get kind of mixed on the show. There's some things where I'm like, I just don't know if that worked exactly the way they wanted to. So throughout the trailers and the way they were promoting this thing, it made it really feel like it was a street crime thriller. The streets of the MCU and the crime going on there with Kingpin and Maya and gangsters and things like that. There's a whole other section of this show they completely hid from the marketing. Or maybe they did and I just wasn't paying attention. But the first 5 minutes of Echo, I had to check my TV control. I had to be like, did Disney send me the wrong screener? Is this actually Echo? What is going on here? This does not feel like the street crime thriller I was promised. There's a real element in here where the MCU is filling in gaps and showing you a part of history in the MCU that is like their equivalent for what they've done with, Hispanics and the Atlantis culture, black people when it came to Wakanda. This show gives off a mythological origin for Native Americans, or at least one group of Native Americans in here, and parts of it worked for me and parts of it didn't. For one, it's really cool that Marvel continues to do this and shine on cultures and teach us. I'll always find that interesting. I'm not just always gonna root for whenever it's like, oh yay, they turned Mexicans into Atlanteans, let's go! It's cool when so many other cultures get represented as well, but the way it was mixed in with this street crime thriller and these random flashbacks that involve a mythological supernatural origin, it was just not mixing well with the tone of the show. It felt very out of place at times and like it could have been edited better, or maybe there were elements of that story they wanted to flesh out, but since they brought it down to 5 episodes, no time for that. And with that being kind of half the story of Echo, I just wasn't that drawn to the overall story. Even the stuff that involves Kingpin and the crime element, even some of that stuff got a little tedious and boring and unexciting. I definitely jumped in my seat once we finally got a cool action scene, the one in the roller skating ring, really awesome. But these emotional connections to her heritage and past, and then tying into Fisk, all of it was just not mixing well for me. And that sucks because it feels like the potential for it was there. They just did not flesh it out in a way where it came across natural. And on that note, Kingpin's involvement, I continue to not love what the MCU is doing with Kingpin. You have freaking Vincent D'Onofrio acting his butt off, putting on a real great show for Wilson Fisk, and you are underutilizing the crap out of this character. And it's just such a shame that Marvel isn't fully utilizing Vincent D'Onofrio other than making him do a couple of comic accurate stories. Because even throughout Echo, there'll be times where they flash back to moments from Hawkeye and he's just wearing that ridiculous white suit with the Hawaiian jersey, and the Kingpin you're getting now in Echo, you're like, that guy would never wear that suit from Hawkeye, but it was comic accurate, so it's cool, right? And then, we did the storyline where he gets shot and survives and has the eye patch. That's cool, right? It's just copying comic storylines without any substance there. And even just the way they start using him by the finale, it was getting embarrassing. So I guess it's time for me to segue into spoilers. But before that, just a quick overall look. This is not the worst Disney Plus show. It definitely has a lot of redeeming qualities in terms of the action, the main lead, the more mature tone and taking things seriously and not just having a joke thrown out there. But it's all still hindered by this horrible Disney Plus formula of terrible pacing, leading to a finale where a character earns their superhero suit. They get to wear it finally for 1 second. They have their boss battle. It's rushed. It's over, it's finished, and you're going, that was the finale? The shortest episode was also the finale? It's not like Disney hasn't made that mistake several times over. But okay, getting into the spoilers of it here. So you might have seen by now, Marvel, Kevin Feige, they finally made up their minds and they're realizing the Netflix TV shows, those are now officially canon to the MCU. They've added it to the Disney Plus timeline, and Echo confirms all of that. Throughout the course of this show here, you see the relationship between Kingpin and Maya as like this messed up father and daughter thing, and Kingpin reveals his, backstory to her. He's like, I killed my father because he was beating my mother, and here's the hammer, and it's a present. Terrible Kingpin impression, but that's the best I got. So that was nice to throw it in there. I think it was kind of funny, but cool at the same time that Kingpin had these contact lenses that sign language for him. Maya wears them, and so when he's talking to her, it'll start signing, and I was like, yo, low-key, that would be really good tech to have. But even Maya uses that against him. It's like, if you really wanted to be my father and you actually loved me, you would take the effort to learn sign instead of this technology crap. And I was like, oh, damn, Maya, hit him with it. But I was just not feeling at all the constant flashbacks to like this alien race that maybe turned into Native Americans. They weren't completely clear on that. And even the way they go about trying to give Echo her superpowers, they didn't go with what I believe her comic traditional superpowers are, because her name is Echo because she's able to mimic your fighting style. At least that's what I remember from my research of the character. That's why she's called Echo. I'm assuming that's too similar to Taskmaster, so instead they just gave her glowing strong arms. Basically 2 iron fists. And it's not just her, it's anybody who has the blood of her tribe, mainly the females. So you get to a finale where like Wilson Fisk has hostage her sister and her grandma, and grandma gets them iron fists and start punching. I did like the parts though where they're like, our life, our culture, it echoes through you, and it's like this message of generation through generation, and like that is beautiful. I like the way they pulled it off. Not a big fan of this power thing, just because also it just manifests out of nowhere. It feels extremely random, and the superhero costume they give Maya just does not seem to fit her. I get that involves her tribe and her culture, but this type of Maya feels like she would fit much more into like this comic version of the Echo suit, although I get that's not much of a suit. All in all, this eventually gets down to a point where she's face to face with Wilson Fisk and Kingpin, and she wants to make him pay for everything and the damage and killing her father and stuff like that, so she uses her Echo powers of being able to like relive childhood trauma. She takes Wilson Fisk in his mind back to the memory of when he was about to kill his dad, and I love you, Vincent D'Onofrio. You do great acting, but this scene did not beat the allegations that Kingpin is just a giant bald baby. I get what they were trying to go for in Maya no longer wanting to kill Kingpin and putting that kind of violence behind her, but there was nothing satisfying about this interaction. Kingpin was confused to why it was happening. He doesn't learn a lesson from it. He obviously can't go good from it, and he can't die because Kingpin is essential to what they want to do in the Daredevil series. So you're just left with this like really rushed and random finale where Kingpin's like, oh, what did you do to my mind? Well, I'm getting out of here, and I guess I'll just never see you again, Maya. You win. This guy was so hell-bent on finding what was essentially his daughter, doing whatever it takes, and the minute she just does some whoopy-loopy mind stuff into his mind, he's like, okay, forget this. I'm done with Oklahoma. Let's go. That's the finale. Like, literally, Kingpin just leaves after that. Maya again reunites and rekindles her family love, and it was just so unsatisfying because, again, we have a universe to take care of. We have storylines to fulfill. Echo could have maybe have been something, but at the end of it, it just felt to me like a character that didn't need to have a Disney Plus show or a story told. Especially when there's limitations to what you can even do with this story because you need certain characters to move on and live on for what you're doing over here. And it sucks that after we had a Hawkeye appearance, then an Echo appearance, we're finally getting to what Wilson Fisk is mainly known for, is that is either battling Daredevil or Spider-Man. And well, that brings us into the post-credit scene of this show. So we get through all that. Kingpin is on his private jet heading back to New York, away from Oklahoma. He's like, oh, I'm never going back there. And then the TV in his plane is playing a debate from New York where they're going, man, we have no real good mayors right now. It's like anybody could be mayor right now. If there was a candidate that could be mayor of New York, they might end up being mayor of New York. I'm not kidding. That's literally as basic as they put it in that post-credit scene. It was basically saying, Kingpin run for mayor, and that's what he's gonna do. Kingpin is running for mayor. That's something we have heard has been in the works and is a large story point in the Daredevil show, and it's even said that it'll be a big plot point for Spider-Man 4. He's gonna outlaw vigilantes and superheroes in New York, making it difficult for like Daredevil and Spider-Man to do anything there, which I am excited for. But as it all came down to it, this was just another okay Disney Plus show. I definitely did enjoy it a lot more than other ones, but a show like this just didn't really do anything to like super excite me or make me feel like it warranted its existence. I want to love these Disney Plus shows, and I want to think a lot of these characters like Ironheart, Agatha, Wonder Man, or whatever else they have planned up are worth watching, but it's getting to the point where it feels like it's just needed content for a streaming service that doesn't have a lot of content. I don't know, guys. That's just my opinion on Echo. I'd love to hear from you guys, whether you loved it, disliked the show, what you thought was working, not working, anything and everything. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.